go, JD?
You right, Robert?
I'm okay, mate. Yeah, I'm okay, thank you.
Good. Can you just tell us about the new man first of all, Tristan Powell? Just tell us how it came about.
Oh, look, he's somebody that I had a lot of interest in pretty much last year. At the end of last year, he was somebody that I inquired about. He's somebody that we kept an eye on for quite a while, really. Someone I would have liked to have brought into the club earlier in the piece, but he's somebody obviously that became available, and he's a really good player. Look, he's someone I admired for a long time. You can never have too many middles. People that understand the game, they're the ones that do a lot of graft. And when you've got a really strong middle, and not only that, I think he adds a lot of balance to the side. He'll give us a bit more balance in there, and he's a really hard worker. He's got really good leg speed. He's really tidy in everything he does. So he's going to be a welcome addition to our pack, but not only to his pack but to his side. He's at a really good age. He's still hungry, still wanting to impress. So I think we're going to see the best of him. Not putting too much pressure on him too early. He's got to acclimatise, get to know the lads, get to know the town, the club. But yeah, I've got high expectations. I think he's going to deliver and be a really good signing for us.
He's been in some good systems, hasn't he? But he's only made that one first grade appearance for Melbourne, wasn't it? I think. Is that an issue? Does that matter?
No. Look, obviously, in the past in Super League, you generally had players that have played hundreds of games in the NRL and come over at the end of the career and a bit busted and broken. And I think we're getting him at a really good age. He has made that one appearance. I spoke to Inchy about him last year, who's the Melbourne Storm assistant coach, and I really trust his character reference. He's a really good bloke, a really good, insightful rugby league player, and he were glowing about him, about the qualities that he brings not only on the field but off the field. So, yeah, look, he's going to be a good player for us.
He's been a starting middle, hasn't he, at the Burleigh Bears? Has he got the potential to be a starting front rower at the Giants, do you think?
Got really good leg speed, got really good engine. His fitness levels are really good. So I think, like I say, he's going to add a lot of balance to his side. He'll be able to, I think he'll help the middles that are actually in there. I think he'll bring out the best in other middles. There's probably been middles that we've been playing a little bit too long, and they're more impactful more than anything else. And as I said previous, rugby league's not always about, it's about balance. It's about having a balance in your side. I think him bringing that little bit of that energy and minutes will help other players. I think we'll see the best of them. So yeah, it's probably a little bit, obviously it's too early for him to play this week. I contemplated it all week, especially at the beginning of the week. Do I roll the dice? But with the season that we've had this year, I thought that'd be very foolish on my part. I'd let him get over the jet lag, let him get a little bit acclimatised to his new teammates, to the club, to where he's living. He's got all that to deal with. So rather than putting the excess stress on him, I'll just let him bed in, find his feet.
Just on Ryan Hinchcliffe as well, obviously he's in a great position over there, isn't he? Does he tee you up with potential players?
Oh, look, Andy Kelly's continually in conversations with a lot of people over there. Liam Finn and myself. I've played with a lot of Antipodeans over the years, and a lot of them have moved into coaching. I'm still mates with. Andy Kelly's been around the game for a long time. Liam Finn, probably one of the good things for Finney is he played at Ireland, and Ireland seemed to. There's not a lot of actual Irish players. There's a lot of Australians in that Irish team, so he's got a lot of contacts over there. So we're constantly in dialogue. I said previously, it'd be very easy if we had an open canvas to play with, but the salary cap, there's a lot tied up within our salary cap. So there's not a lot of wriggle room for us, particularly end of last year and probably moving forward. But we are in constant dialogue and trying to constantly make ourselves better.
So this week's squad, with the exception of Liam Sutcliffe and Matty English, you've got your 1 to 17. That time was always going to come. Has it been a tricky team to pick for good reasons this week?
Yeah, we've still got Jack Murchie's not trained still for the last couple of weeks. So he's still very underdone. Is Jack. Ollie Wilson's had a little bit of stuff going on this week where we're toing and froing about whether he were going to be able to play, and we've had a little bit of sickness in the camp where a couple of lads haven't trained today in captain's runs, so there still is a little bit of doubt, but inevitably when you start getting experience back, it makes a big difference. We're still, in an ideal situation, I'd give him 2 or 3 weeks. Some of the players, even like Kingy last week, he's pretty much, you'd like to just go with me, have 3 weeks, get yourself up to speed, but we've kind of rushed him and thrown him back in, but we're still all going to be all better for that experience being in the team. A lot better for it, and I think they'll get better as the weeks progress and they get that match fitness. But yeah, look, it's definitely a situation we'd rather be in than not be in.
You mentioned about Thomas Burgess being taken out of the firing line. Is he back in the reckoning in terms of selection?
Yeah, he is. We took him out of the firing line, as I spoke about last week. He's had a lot of injections. Want him to get over get over those little niggles and knocks so he can actually get some good training under his belt. And we can see the best version of him when he goes on the field. And we inevitably, as it always does in rugby league, that if he's starting to feel good about himself having that week off, and we lost Matty English to an head knock. Obviously, Jared hit him round the head, and so he's out for a little while. Is Matty? So yeah, as I spoke to you about before, there's a few doubts about certain players. So yeah, he's back in the reckoning, but he's feeling good about himself.
How does that work with Matty English? Because obviously he's had a lot of head knocks, hasn't he? Does this mean he's going to be out for an extended, but longer than any other player might be at this stage?
No, not automatically. The recommendations are regarding how many head knocks you have in the last 12 months, and he actually hasn't had them in the last 12 months. But historically, throughout his career, he's had a fair few. So we're obviously going to see the specialists as we would anyway. We really do his due diligence. I think the medical team are unbelievable at the Giants. We do a really good job. The doctor and the medical team here, so we'll make sure we do what's best for Matty English and what's best for him moving forward, and that'll be discussed. As when he goes and sees a specialist, which will be later this week.
We mentioned Liam Sutcliffe. Is he progressing as you'd like?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a slow burner. He's probably he's on target for where he is, but that's still a fair few weeks off, and it's probably not until the latter end of his injury that we can, when he really starts to run and get back into, that you get a feel for where he's at, how he's healed. We brought him back after his last injury on the way to Malaga, and it derailed his comeback, and he had a few 4 or 5 weeks off after his return. So we don't want a similar thing happening this time round. We want to make sure that once he's right, he can go back into training and get some training under his belt. But yeah, I think he's on track, and Niall Evans seems to be on track as well. He's in a similar position where he's still sort of 4 or 5 weeks off, but he's on track.
So obviously, looking to bounce back after that. It was a strange all game, wasn't it? 4-0 for so long, and then 34-0. It seems an odd one. Has the emphasis this week been on the attack after what you said after the game?
Yeah, very much so. Look, I thought for vast majority of the game we defended really well, and we defended. They were covering for each other. Wasn't always picture perfect, but the effort, we were really good. Thought we defended. I think spoke to you after the game. At half time, they had 26 play the balls in our 20. We only had 5 in theirs. The massive wind against us. They put a lot of pressure on us with their defence and our attack. But I thought we defended really well. I thought the wheels fell off at the latter end of the game, just sheerly down to fatigue. We'd just done so much. But the fatigue setting, I felt, because of his attack, I just don't think we used the ball very well. I think we coughed the ball up way too easily. A lot of basic errors which we need to eradicate from his game, because Saints will punish you if you give them that much ball and that much field position. So yeah, we've definitely got to make sure we are holding the ball and asking a fair few more questions of St Helens than we did against OKR.
And does Tui Lolohay's potential return aid that, or do we have to remember that he's been out for a bit?
He's been out for a bit, but he definitely aids it. You put Tuilagi in any side, and all of a sudden you become a lot more threatening with the ball. You become a lot more threatening when out the back. You know, I'm really excited to see him play. I know, look, it is his first game back once again, so he's going to be a little bit ring rusty. But I'm just really excited to see Clooney, Tui, and Zach actually play together and actually, you know, build some combinations. They pretty much haven't trained together, never mind playing together, but it's going to be, and it will, the combinations and the talk and everything that goes with it, the relationship will get better the more games they play together, obviously. But I think even in training, we've noticed there's a remarkable difference in his attack when those three are together.